Alright you guys, Subaru Sambar time. The original rear engine, rear wheel drive Subaru. Alright you guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the show. My name is Marcus, and behind me, we're very privileged to have this 1990 Subaru Sambar in our presence, not only because it's very unique, but because it is not something we normally see here in like North American car culture. Obviously, Kei cars, or a Kei van, or a micro van, such as this, is, you know, very prominent in Japan. And when we were in Japan very briefly in the beginning of 2020, you know, one of the key things I brought back was like, North America has got a lot right in terms of automotive modification and like motorsport and stuff, but we've also got a lot wrong. And what I came back noticing in all the photos I was taking and looking back at those photos is like Kei vans and things that are less than 1000cc, or in this case, I believe it's 660cc. They're just so practical, and I definitely could see myself owning one of these in the future. We're gonna talk to the owner, Alex, and we're gonna get your story just kind of on the build and the confusing nature. Obviously, you guys, I haven't really mentioned it yet, but it's a Subaru, and you're probably wondering what the heck is going on with the VW badge. So, like, how did this all come to be?
The main idea was that somebody back in the 90s, when Subaru first started making these, somebody figured out that you can swap out the front plate on it, a couple of headlights, and then the badge is in it. Looks like a miniature Westphalia bus. When I bought it, it already had the swap on it, so I didn't really have to do too much mods as far as making it look cleaner and everything. Yeah, somebody just did the pinstriping and the painting and everything already. There are a few extra bumper accessories you can get for it, but yeah, this was all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and then some that are just rear wheel as well.
Originally produced and manufactured in 1961, all the way up until 2012, when Subaru kind of passed it off and passed off the chassis to Daihatsu and a few other companies around the world that have continued to produce this vehicle and manufacture kind of a modern version of the Subaru Sambar today. So, key things to note here. I am sitting on top of the front axle here, which is this is the first time I've ever driven a vehicle that is like this, you know. A lot of commercial vehicles, obviously, are your position kind of like we are here, at the very front of the car, right? So the steering column is very uniquely placed. As you can see, it's trucker status here, right? It's very kind of vertical, top-down kind of style driving. Super cool. Never driven anything like this. So, and yes, as I go back into second gear, let's try third again. There we go. And this one has actually been converted to look like a VW van, which is hilarious. Already today, we have got so much attention from people, because you look at this thing and you're like, well, from the front, it really, I don't know about you guys, drop a comment down below, but it really, upon first impression, resembles a VW van, or a Westphalia kind of van, right? Which also, funny enough, this is why this works so well, is because those are also rear engine, rear wheel drive. But that being said, this particular one is four wheel drive. So the base models, I guess, or originally they only came rear wheel drive, and then some of them you can get in four wheel drive. As we look around us here, this gorgeous Friday afternoon here in North Vancouver, we're in the Pacific Northwest, okay? So four-wheel drive is a given, one. Two, Subarus are a given up here. The Subaru culture here, as we have, if you guys see right here, you can see a Mitsubishi Delica passing us here. We've featured many different Subarus before, different build styles, whether they be, you know, a stance build or like a raised up kind of jacked up build where you can actually take it on, you know, dirt roads and stuff and go rallying. But the culture here is such that a vehicle like this with four-wheel drive, although far from quick, is just so practical in most scenarios. Now, here's scenarios where a K van like this, or a micro van, a K truck, whatever you want to call it, is not practical, and that's when it comes to highway driving. Now, when we look at the dashboard here, we can see that the speedometer only actually goes up to 140 kilometers an hour. Obviously, it is imported from Japan. These were only ever sold for the Japanese domestic market, JDM. The speedometer is in kilometers an hour, which works for us here in Canada because obviously the metric system, vastly superior to the imperial system, and it just makes sense. Here's the thing though. You're never gonna hit 140 kilometers an hour in this thing, okay? Alex has told me he's made it up to maximum of 110 kilometers an hour.
Very, very different, very unique. Like there's a little toggle switch to go and make it into the four-wheel drive setting, but yeah, it's something you don't see every day.
Yeah, so show me around. I would like.
All right.
I have not, you guys. I have not ever. This is my first time actually like really kind of poking around a Sambar. So yeah, show me what your kind of favorite things are about the car and like what makes it so
unique.
Unique, yeah.
Yeah, other than the obvious exterior that turns a lot of heads and there's a lot of confusion in it. People look at it and think, oh, it's a small Westphalia. And they're thinking of like weird imports and it's right-hand drive, but it's a Westphalia, so it's a bit odd. Interior-wise, it's pretty simple, kind of old. To be honest, that red and black cable is a set of mystery wires that I've chased into the carpet that literally disappear into a bundle of other wires. There's a switch on the end that I can't find what that switch does. The sweet Santa hat shift boot that I cut up and used because otherwise there wasn't one. Installed the little clock there. Aftermarket steering wheel came with it as well. No dash. The heat and AC works sometimes. AC never works, so you got to roll the windows down all summer.
Yeah.
Your gas, you have a nice low fill up for your gas tank. So you got to get your keys to unlock it, and you basically do a little squat as you're filling up, which looks hilarious when you're filling up and everybody's got their big Dodge Rams. They're filling up right next to you, and you're in this thing.
Yeah.
The back.
Okay, that's cool.
A little bed setup that I've had a couple naps in and I plan to go camping in. Just put some nice mats down. Otherwise, you do have some rear seats that will fold up entirely. And just kind of metal back on it.
Huge amount of headroom.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There's roughly about 6 feet worth of space between like the back of the seats and the back of the van. So you know, being a North American sized adult, you can fit in it pretty comfortably.
Yeah. Right, so both sides are sliding doors like this? Okay, Grayson, we need to get one of these for a camera car. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like it being a 1990, it's like I'm sure it's not the safest as far as crash test ratings go.
Nope.
But that's what makes it like the interior space so large because there's nothing
no
here.
padding. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also like it's fairly slow, so you're not exactly driving at 100 kilometer an hour roads like we're used to here, so you are driving 50, 60, so slightly less of a chance is how I justify it, but it's still the option to unfortunately crash.
I mean, yeah, vehicles even without airbags have never deterred me from driving them.
Exactly, right. Yeah, it's part of their fun. Yeah, I guess we want to work our way to the back.
Absolutely.
So, tail lifts all the way up. It was a pain trying to find new struts to replace some of these that were blown out.
Yeah.
Good and a bit different. This is your reservoir for the rear washer fluid. because it's in weird spots. This is your coolant reservoir.
No way.
Here.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess your battery for the engine is underneath the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Inside there is also the reservoir for the front windshield washer. This is an aftermarket bumper on it because it's just fiberglass. You are supposed to have a little switch here that lets you drop the bumper down to get the engine and the exhaust and your dipstick and everything.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
you do have to remove body panels to get
I have a Phillips screwdriver to keep with me to unscrew the bumper to be able to get at anything.
Yeah.
So that makes it even funnier after I squat and fill up gas. If I want to check my oil, I got to get out tools and really get into it.
Like you're going so much quicker than you actually are, especially because the steering. There's no power steering in this Sambar here. I don't know if any of the other or later model Sambars actually did have power steering. I don't see a need though. It's such a light vehicle. It's got a 600cc 4-cylinder motor in the rear there. The originals were all air-cooled. This one is not. This one's water-cooled, but carbureted, okay? So it still retains some of that, like, really just, you feel the engine. You feel the car. There's no tack here. I can't see what we're revving to, but Alex is just like, hey man, rev it out. Oh, it sounds so cool. It's a microvan. It's a K car. It's meant to be good on gas, and it's meant for the Japanese domestic market. It's meant for small Japanese city roads. There are a lot of uses for this vehicle. One might ask, why in the world, Marcus, would you get a vehicle that doesn't even get up to freeway speeds? Or at the very least, if you're in a situation where you're like forced onto a freeway, it might be incredibly frightening for you. And that's a question that's not for me. That's a question that's for you. That's the thing about importing vehicles from Japan. You don't get to drive them before you buy them, unless you go to one of the local dealerships, let's say here in Vancouver, where they will allow you to test drive the car beforehand. But even then, most of the cars you're seeing are the other Subarus. You know, up here you're seeing Imprezas, you're seeing S14s, S15s, R33s, R34s. The staples of the Japanese car culture and the tuning culture. But after going to Japan and spending about 2 weeks in Japan at the beginning of 2020, what I got back from that trip is how incredibly smart the Japanese culture has been over decades. And this is totally off topic, but maybe a year ago, one of my good friends told me recommended a book to me, and it's called The Blue Ocean Strategy. And basically, it's a business book that describes kind of how to create your own market space in whatever niche you're in, whatever market you're in. And that's kind of the same idea with the Sambar. In 1961, this was the first K van or micro van, which is, for those of you who don't know, a K car is a 660cc or less vehicle that is in a different insurance class in Japan. So obviously using much less fuel, taking up much less space, parking, and you get kind of deals for that. So this was the first one where you're sitting on the front axle. 1961, Subaru was an innovator. Subaru created their own blue ocean within the K market. And it speaks volumes because the vehicle has long outlasted probably many of the original engineers and designers that worked on that first original Subaru Sambar.
Yeah, so rear passenger side, this handle on mine's unfortunately busted. Working on getting a replacement. Just gotta open it from the inside, and then got a nice through access. There is a little storage space where I've got stuff to change tires if I need to. And your seats again pull completely flat down, which is nice.
Yeah, no kidding.
I guess originally they came with 12-inch tires on them, super tiny. These are 14s, so they're a lot easier to find. There's a spare 12-inch tire that I'm not even going to bother to try and use if I lose a tire.
Yeah, because then that cuts your top speed from 80 to like 50.
If that, yeah. This here, it's a new cover because the other one was busted that I got. This is your brake fluid in here. It's weirdly positioned out the way.
Brake fluid in the dashboard.
Yeah.
That's
literally
crazy.
I don't know if I can pull it off or not. There it is. Yeah, that's your brake fluid in there.
It's like a motorcycle,
yeah,
man.
the amount of things are just like randomly hidden in weird places in order to make it work. It's great. Super tiny pedals down the bottom, so you can get kind of, not quite heel toe, more like side of your foot and toe action on it. Technically lowered compared to the stock ride height. Not sure why the previous owner did it to me. I've tried to swap out the suspension for it, but finding some parts for that's a bit of a pain. Corners are a struggle. You can't like really lean it because it's so top heavy.
Right.
But yeah, some bumps you want to avoid potholes and bumps as much as you can.
It looks cool with the upsized 14s on it though, for sure.
Yeah, I like it. The white steelies, I guess. Seating position wise, this is as far back as the seat will go, so you are kind of crunched up in it. So it makes long journeys a little bit difficult. I just got in a couple days ago. New seat rails to be able to slide back and adjust the position a bit better.
Have you ever, now, are you like a VW fan, or did you like consider buying just a factory, totally stock one of these, or did you see this and be like, no, this is just so unique, I have to have it?
It was sold on first sight. A long time ago, I was in Tofino, and I happened to see one that had a similar conversion kit. It was a Steamworks Brewery Sandbar with like a weird Volkswagen conversion to it. Yeah, back in August, I was on Facebook Marketplace. I saw this one. It was like sold.
Yeah.
Like I'll take it. Went and saw it. Made the guy an offer that day and drove it home. Like, it was real fun getting over the Portman Bridge and not really realizing some things about it, but
right. Yeah, always the drive home. Driving a used vehicle it can be an interesting experience. Yeah, why don't do you want to pop off if it's not too much work?
No.
We can check out how the engine looks.
.660cc 4-clover.
Yeah.
Again, if you don't believe me that it's a Subaru, it says it on the engine there. One of the few easy accessible places. It does have an exhaust off I think it's a 1996 Sandbar I bought used. Pretty short, literally turns through the cat here and then through the muffler and back out.
Wow. That is the smallest exhaust manifold I've ever seen in my life.
It's great. So the stock bumper is supposed to be able to mount onto these brackets and then just fold down. This is where you check your oil for your dipstick. So again, I gotta remove that to check it, but you should be able to flip the switch and just do it.
What kind of fuel economy do you get? Like good or bad, I guess. Is it what you expected?
It's a little bit less than I expected. On one tank of gas, I could probably drive about 100 kilometers.
Oh my god.
There's a 25 liter tank on it.
Wow.
So it's not the best.
Yeah.
But you know, the end goal is to have a roof rack with some jerry cans on it and just fill up as needed.
Yeah.
You can just keep driving.
Yep. And if you run out, hey, well, you can sleep in the back.
Exactly, right? I can have a nap while I'm waiting for the tow truck.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, thanks, Alex.
No worries.
For showing me the car. Do you have obviously you have Instagram? Go follow Alex on Instagram, and yeah. It feels so cool. The steering is incredibly vague, but at the same time, well, yeah, lots of body roll too. So much headroom. I mean, I'm kind of a short guy, but there is an incredible amount of headroom. 55 kilometers an hour feels like 100. But it's just easy to drive. It makes so much sense. And it just, this is why, this right here, dude, Alex, this Subaru Sambar is why I love Japanese vehicles. It's because this smile never leaves your face. And now having been to Japan, a long kind of a bucket list dream of mine, and I will go back at some point after all this global BS is over with. But it's a different feeling. It's all just about enjoying the driving experience and having fun. People's jaws just hit the floor because it is so alien to us here in North American culture. But surprisingly enough, it works. It works here in North America, and it is so cool. And I'm so thankful that here in Canada, our import rule has allowed us to import vehicles that are 15 years or older. Now, obviously, this is in 1990. If you're in the States, you're watching this, this is totally legal to import. And you know what? You know what? The Porsche purists are gonna hate me for saying this, but it has that little bit of not old school air-cooled 911 feel, in the sense of you just have to rev it out. Your right foot is your tack. You just have to feel it out. Oh, it's just great. You really do have to be careful in the corners, though. It feels incredibly top-heavy. Not so much so that, well, we picked a good road, let's just say that. A low-speed road was a good choice for this video. It is kind of sketchy, though, in the corners, I'm not gonna lie. Just a joy to drive. They also made these, by the way, I think she was complaining about the noise. I love it. I don't know what she's talking about. They also made this in like a pickup truck form, which is mainly what you actually see these as. And some that actually had like a hydraulic lift in the back that is capable of actually, you know, towing or carrying a bunch. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick video on Alex's Subaru Sambar. Go hit him up and his buddy Rudi that came all the way out here from Calgary. He's here kind of visiting and taking in the car culture. Hit me up on Instagram too, at Roads Untraveled, and you can see what we're shooting on a day-to-day basis. We'll see you guys next time.